I asked Lane about Alabama after the game, and I said, Alabama next, what does that make you think? He just gave me a, yeah, tough team, tough place to play. I guess we got to go Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Which that's his time to shine. That's his time to make headlines and get his name in lights and get retweets. And he decided not to do it. And I was like, uh-oh, is that quiet confidence I hear from Lane Kiffin? Oh, maybe.
All right. Let me stretch out for this one. So staying on that theme, I'm not one to delve into the hot take genre, but this may get close to it depending on how we feel about answering this. True or false, Cole Cueblic? This weekend's slate of games heavily impacts who the future head coach at Alabama will be once Saban retires.
False. For a lot of different reasons. I don't think it has anything to do with his decision, the man we see on the screen right there, Nick Saban.
I agree.
If he were to lose to Lane Kiffin or lose to Ole Miss, I think if Coach Saban wants to continue to go, he's going to continue to go. And I think part of him knows right now, I want to do this again next year and the year after, or this is probably it, and we're going to give it a go one more time, and that's going to be the end of it. I think the candidates that will be next after Nick Saban, the only thing that could potentially prevent them from taking that job are going to be the bankroll behind the school that they are already employed by. I don't think there are going to be a lot of candidates that are going to be next up for Alabama that other schools are going to be considering plucking. It's going to be guys that, unless School A can come up with $12 million a year and wants to do that, then they're going to stay. If not, they're going to take the Alabama job. I think we can probably count those candidates on one hand and not even use all of our fingers. So I also think there's some people. I've had the conversation with Greg Byrne before. He's told me, not necessarily from a football coach perspective, but he said, I have a list in my drawer of every sport of the next 2 or 3 guys that I want to attack if I ever needed a new coach. Don't think for one second that he and some of the other powers that be around Tuscaloosa don't know exactly who they want to target next. So what happens this weekend? No, I don't think it has any bearing on who the next head coach is at Alabama.
All right.
And if you're trying to be sneaky here, which I think you are because you usually like to try to play that game, and say that if Lane Kiffin were to knock off Alabama, he then becomes the favorite to be the next Alabama coach, I would say no. Don't even pretend like that's going to be a real thing.
All right. You continue to be one of the most boring humans on the face of the earth because you're right about this. So, no, this weekend, it's false. It is not going to impact the future. Here's what I will say. I think there are people, let me play devil's advocate, there are people who believe you have to see Kiffin beat your team before you'll endorse him being the future head coach of your team. I think that's nonsense, but I think there may be some people of that opinion. And then there's also, as you know, the other camp that's just dead set on the idea that Dabo's the future in Tuscaloosa, and all of a sudden if he loses a second game and that trajectory is on the downward trend with Dabo, maybe people cool on him that would have been high on him once before. I don't think either of those things is the case. I've never been on the Dabo is the future at Alabama train to begin with, although I get it, it makes sense. I almost wonder if the names that will be in that equation aren't at the forefront right now because Saban's not going anywhere anytime soon. I still don't believe it's imminent that he's on his way out the door. I don't buy into that at all. I would think that if I were to place odds at Pate State Sportsbook, yes, no, he's still the head coach in 2026. I'd still lean yes more so than no, and that's 3 years down the road. So, I mean, let me just give you an example and we'll move on. Take a name like Dan Lanning, who's just starting his head coaching career at Oregon. He could do some things over the next 2 years that come 2026 has him at the forefront. Well, you would never have Lanning's name at the forefront right now. You wouldn't put him above Kyle Whittingham in the Pac-12 right now. So let's pump the brakes. And shame on you for going as long as you did on this answer, only to say no. And I dutifully wrap it up for us.